right in the middle of the ghetto on the curb with a spite. All of the bookish, we on our back staring at the stars above. Talking about.
Welcome back to the SpeakUp podcast. We got a very special guest in the building. We have Cassy Jean. How you doing today?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to chat.
Thank you for joining me.
Let's get to it.
Just start off by telling me a little bit about what you do and why you do it.
Okay, great. So I used to do in-home family therapy.
Okay.
I would drive to their homes, and then I would actually do sessions, things like that. I recently started a job at the school board as pretty much a mental health provider for kids in the school. It's a new initiative, actually, after Stoneman Douglas. So after Stoneman Douglas, there's a bunch of different rules and regulation that's been passed around mental health in our public school systems. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of new positions that have opened up. There's a lot of new crisis management, all these different things. So the new position, basically, there needs to be one in every single school.
Really?
Yes, in every single school in Palm Beach County.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yes.
But can you tell people a little bit about Stoneman Douglas a little bit? Like going into it a little bit?
I don't know if I'm that educated about it. I just know that it had a lot of effect, and it really shed a light into mental health in the school. I think a lot of times we were focused on mental health in the home, mental health in everywhere else but the school. A lot of times we don't think that students and kids have issues, or we don't think it's as important as our issues. You know, you're not working, you have a roof over your head, you have food every day. What could you be stressed about? What do you have to be depressed about? It's not a concern. But these kids are suffering.
Yeah.
Granted, you know, it's in their world, in that moment, this is the toughest time that they've ever encountered. You know, bullying is very real. It is scary.
Really?
Yes.
Because I don't know, like growing up for me, like bullying was it wasn't crazy, but it was a thing that was present.
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of say I was bullied, but you know what I mean? It was something that I got through. It wasn't, you know what I mean?
I also think kids these days don't have the same emotional intelligence that we kind of did back then. I think the culture is much more, kids are a little bit more smothered. Oh, they're a little bit more smothered. It's, you know, everyone gets a participation trophy. Everyone is a winner. So kids are not taught how to really stand up for themselves, how to communicate their feelings either. So that leads to them feeling like they're by themselves, you know, and that's the number one thing. If you're being bullied, if you're depressed, feeling alone, that's the number one way to really do certain acts.
So why do you think they're a little bit more or less like emotionally intelligent than us? Or our generation, yeah. Honestly,
I think social media plays a big part of it in how we relate to other people nowadays. I've noticed that kids, when I grew up, I was able to interact with other children better than how I see kids are interacting with each other now. They're pretty much kind of like zombies almost, to be honest. You could tell kids who've had interaction with with other children versus kids who've had an iPad put in front of their screen, in front of their face, you know. And I've noticed that parents, you know, sometimes it's easier to just give them the iPad so they could be quiet versus taking them out for a walk or going to the park. So I think in terms of socialization, we're more distracted. So we're not teaching our kids how to stand up for themselves, because that starts in the playground. For, you know, he bit me, well, bite him back.
No.
You know, they're not experiencing that.
Right.
Now they're just watching shows. They're watching God knows what. So when they get to school, they see other students who've had that, you know, those experiences, because some parents are still doing that. They're scared. They don't know how to act. They're anxious. Anxiety is starting in kids as young as 6 years old. Yes.
6 years old?
6 years old. And it's crazy because anxiety in that age, it's like a tummy ache. You know, my stomach hurts. I don't want to go to school. But that's anxiety.
Right.
But once again, as a parent, let's go. You know, we don't really understand everything. And I think a lot of times, once again, with kids, we just kind of push them aside. Let's go. Do it. What do you have to be scared about? I went through school. I did it. You can do it. And that's the mindset. If I did it, you can do it. Things are different now. School is harder.
Right.
School is tough.
And kind of like what we were saying a little bit earlier off mic, this is the most stress those kids have ever been in their whole lives. like you've been through things, you've been through your struggles in life already. You've built up a tolerance for it. But these kids this is their first time getting into it. Like that.
So when you think about something like a kid going to kindergarten who's never gone to VPK or anything like that, so he's used to staying at home, he's used to having some type of schedule, he's used to watching the iPad all the time.
Right.
And then suddenly, you take him to school. You didn't prep him. A lot of parents don't prep. You're just, okay, we're going to school now. Your time. You're old enough. Let's go to school.
How would you prep a kid?
Honestly, figuring out what the school schedule would look like. So probably emailing the teacher and all these different things. And then kind of breaking up his day or her day that way, you know. So I know every hour you're going to have a 15-minute break to play. So we would start studying in school, studying at home, doing stuff at home, doing activities at home. So this is math time now, 15 minutes to play, and then now writing time. So start doing that in my own home so that when they go to school, they transition easier. We're going to school now. School is what happens. You know, you're a certain age. Kids understand very well. We just have to communicate with them. They know what's going on. You know, I think a lot of times, once again, it doesn't matter. Oh, let's just go. Communicate. They're little people.
They're definitely little people with their own lives.
Right.
It's crazy how like a little kid just turns into a whole adult. Like,
right. And honestly, I'm such a big believer that everything, like every baggage that, you know, you carry in a relationship, in your job, all these different things stem from your childhood. Literally everything stems from your childhood. The way you act in a relationship, the way you receive criticism, everything has to do with your childhood. So that's why it's so important as a parent that you're doing everything that you can to make sure that your child is emotionally intelligent the earlier as possible. Because the earlier you do it, the earlier they can navigate the world through that lens. The later it is, that's therapy. They're going to end up in therapy. And that's why a lot of people end up in therapy.
So throughout your career path or whatever, you're in your job, you're learning how to deal with these kids in a different way. How has this experience shaped the way you're probably going to raise your kids?
That's a very great question. So I'm Haitian. And that says it right there. So I had a very narrow, closed-minded view of how I was going to raise my kids. You know, I feel like I turned out pretty well, considering. Well, no, I did. And I was very grateful. I had really great parents. They were not the typical Haitian parents. They were very open and communicative. But there's some things they were very still, this is the Haitian way. And I think through all my different trainings about the brain as well as trauma, it really has taught me that I had to parent differently. I had to parent in a way where I put my child first and their needs first, you know. So if I am disciplining them, if I'm teaching them a lesson, is it because I'm frustrated out of my anger, I'm disciplining them? Or is it because I want them to learn something, you know? Even something so simple as tantrums. I would see those kids in the store wilding out. She not being her child.
Yeah.
They don't have no discipline. But once again, through training, I really learned that tantrums, at that moment, that child is really like emotionally out of whack. They don't know how to regulate themselves. So they had to let it out how they know how to, out of anger. They literally have to hit something. So when you see them hitting the floor, that's literally them. You know, when you're angry and you want to punch something, that's the same way. But at least you're an adult. You know, I can't just go around and punch everything. They don't know that at that age. So it's like the sitting down next to them, getting an eye level. That's a very important thing that people don't do when they're talking to kids. Get down to their level. If you're standing on top of them like you're like angry, you know, that's threatening. You're threatening them.
Right.
But you get down to their level. Honey, I understand you're upset. Another thing, that calming voice. A lot of times people are yelling at these kids. They're not. They're children. But once again, it really has taught me that I had to be more patient than I am right now, which is how I know I'm not ready to have kids. I am not ready to be so patient with a child. I can't do it right now. I'm not. But I also know if I were to, when I do become, you know, on the road to parenthood, I would be going to all these different trainings. I would definitely do a parenting class. My husband would do a parenting class. Like, that is something that we have to be on the same page as well. That's another thing, having a united front. I'm doing this, you're not doing this. We're doing the same thing. You know, if we're not spanking, you're not spanking on your end. We're not, whatever it is, what we're doing, you know?
Spanking?
Yeah.
Are you going to spank your kids?
Honestly, I don't want to.
But I'm going to have to. Who knows? One day they might need it.
I really don't. I don't want that to be my first form of punishment.
For sure. No.
Definitely. I want that to be, I've told you once, I've told you twice, I've told you 3 times. And all those 3 times, I've given you an increase in discipline. You know, the first time it was a timeout. I'm a big believer in timeouts if it's done properly.
Okay.
Once again. So a lot of things have to be done properly. I think a lot of times we just seek a child, oh, you were doing something wrong, go to timeout. We don't explain to them what they were doing wrong, you know, when they do come out of timeout. And it's just, once again, doing things properly. So spanking, last resort, and it would be spanking. I would not be whooping or nothing like that, no.
I remember I was on a Not So podcast, and it was this one topic they were talking about men beating their daughters.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I can count on my hands how many times my dad has hit me. Yeah. And it's literally been hit. It was not no whooping. It was literally on his hand, and it was 3 times. And I remember every time very distinctly.
Right.
I would not want my husband hitting my daughter. And then even my dad, after a certain age, he can't hit me anymore.
No.
And that's not. Even with spanking. After a certain age, that's abuse. You cannot
really?
You
think that?
I think that.
You mean in general, just anybody getting a beating after a certain age?
Yes, because you can't be 16 years old getting a whooping.
You need to talk to my mom. That's what you
after a certain age,
you didn't hear that part. Yeah.
I started getting whoopings maybe after I was 12, 13.
Yeah.
Then it was the removal of stuff. You're not going there. You're not going this. You're not watching TV. That's more effective because after a certain age, what's a beating?
True.
You're used to it.
True.
I've had kids tell me, she's just going to beat me. That's fine. They're used to it. That's not that. Then that's not discipline anymore. That's abuse.
That's abuse because you're not really doing anything.
You're not
positive.
teaching anything. Exactly. And that's the point of discipline, to teach a lesson. Mm-hmm. If you're not teaching anything, it's abuse. Okay. Personally.
All right. So let's walk through it a little bit. All right. So I have a child. Let's say that they're.
Can I just mention I don't have any kids. So right now I'm talking, you know.
No abuse.
In my perfect world, my kid is perfect. You know, everything is going great because I don't have kids.
Right. And everybody parent their own way.
And I'm going to parent my own way. So I don't judge however you parent. This is just how I.
You're not telling anybody to beat their kid.
No.
You're not saying that.
Because honestly, it's not illegal to hit your child. Just don't leave no bruises or nothing. But you can do what you have to do.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the scenario. Right. Little Jesse, I'm gonna call him Little Jesse. Little Jesse is having a tantrum. Let's say that we're in the house. This is we're at our house. He can't get something he wants. He wants to watch TV and it's time to go to sleep or something. He starts freaking out. What do I do?
Honestly, is he destroying stuff?
I would like to think my kid's not going to destroy stuff. So let's say no.
He's just having a meltdown.
He's just going crazy.
I would just let him cry it out.
Yeah.
I would just let him cry it out however long it takes, literally ignoring it, walking past him. And I would literally walk past him on purpose so he could see that I'm ignoring him. And literally the minute he stops his tantrum, I would go right next to him and just hug him. It's okay, honey, but it's time to go to bed. The most important thing about tantrums or like when they're having a meltdown is that you're there to reinforce that it's okay when it's over. So while they're crying, it's okay. Do you want to stop? If you stop now, we're not bartering with them either. We're not trading. If you do this, I'm going to do this. Because then that gives them the power. Oh, I can set the situation. You know, I can control the situation. Oh, she'll give me 5 extra minutes of TV time if I stop crying right now. No, you're not in control. The most important thing is you want to give them choices, but you're in control. Does that make sense? So you're not sitting there, if you do this, then we can do that. No, cry it out. You're not destroying anything, especially if you cry it, you're going to go to sleep too anyways.
You said choices. Can you break that down? So it's like, okay, you eat. Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
So the choices is mostly, it's not going to be really used for tantrum times. So, for example, let's say that you want them to come eat dinner. They don't want to go eat dinner. Typically, I know how it would have been, come eat dinner right now. Choices would be, do you want to come eat dinner in 2 minutes or in 5 minutes? They're still going to come eat dinner, but they're choosing at what time they're going to eat dinner, in 2 minutes or in 5 minutes. So in their mind, I get to pick in how long when I go. But they're still going to end up going to eat dinner just on their own time.
See, in my house, it wasn't a question. It's not 2 minutes or 5 minutes. It's like, get up now.
Right. In my house, it wasn't either.
So you're saying not to do that?
I think so once again, the goal is to make sure that our child is emotionally ready for the world. And that means that they're in control of their world. And I think that's where a lot of mental illness or, mental challenges come, is when we don't feel in control of our world. So when you start giving them choices of their own world, what color shirt do you want to wear? Pink or green? You're still going to wear a shirt, but you pick what shirt you want to wear. But once again, that takes more patience on our part as opposed to just put this on. Sitting down on the floor and pick this versus this. Yeah. They learn they can make decisions. I picked this shirt. And you see when they go to school, I picked this shirt out today. They feel pride.
That's good. I like
and those are things that you're instilling in them when they're very young. Yeah. So then when they are older, they can just start making more educated decisions, and they're comfortable. They're not doubting, did I make the right choice? Yeah. And that's how they're not getting bullied. But once again, those things that start very, very young.
So, and that just kind of made me think about, like, you have to really be ready. Well, not ready, but, like, mentally mature, because I feel like you're never going to be ready to have kids. Right. But you have to be mentally mature, because me at 21, I can't take that time. I don't have that patience. Right. I haven't learned that yet. Right. Man, so, yeah, you just got to really, like, sit down and figure it out. I remember my godmom even talking to one of her nieces about the way she interacted with her kids, and her kid was just going crazy, and she was just looking at him like, okay, the way she was, like, kind of parenting them is basically what you were saying. Like, she was trying to give them options. Like, please do this, and I'll do this for you. You know what I mean? And she was like, no, that's bad.
I think once again, it depends in the setting.
Okay.
If they're having a meltdown, that's not when you're going to, so when they're having a meltdown, they're like, can you please stop crying? Then we're going to go get ice cream. They're in control. Right. When they're having a meltdown, you're not playing with them. We're not, because as soon as you do that with them, it's like you approve of this behavior, and it's going to keep going. Then they're in the store, they're doing that behavior, and that's how it starts, because it's not controlled in the home. There's nothing that they're doing outside that they're not doing in the home, because it starts there. Right. So there's nothing, they never act like this at home, sis. Come on now.
Now you know.
Come, please. That's my biggest pet peeve. They never done this before.
So in the Black community, right? We have a certain way we do things. Like, oh no, that's what white people do. But we do it a certain type of way. So what do you think are kind of like the biggest, like, no-nos that happen in the Black community as far as, like, parenting?
I think just even having discussions about mental health. I remember I told my mom I had anxiety. And she was like, I do too. Just pray about it. And it's something just so simple, like, how do I explain this? So it's just something, just having those discussions, it's hard to have with a Black parent. Versus I feel like a white person who have more privilege. So it's all about privilege. Because mental health therapy, access to it is a privilege, to be honest. For sure. And I think because we're not granted that privilege, or it's something that's our last concern, to be honest. If I'm a Black parent and the system is already against me, I have kids, I want to make sure that they succeed. I want them to do better than me. I had to pay, I have all these different bills, all these different stressors. I'm a Black woman in America. And my kid is coming to me. I've done everything. I've provided food. They go to the best school that I could potentially afford. And now you're depressed. As a parent, it's like, what else could you want from me? What else? What do you have to be depressed about? I've gone through worse things than you. When I immigrated here, I didn't know the language. I didn't know this. I was working all these odd-end jobs. But now you're telling me you're depressed? This is the dream that we had for you. And I think that's where a lot of the misconception and stigma that Black parents, Caribbean parents have with mental health, it almost feels like why? Or how do you even have time to be depressed? You have so much goals that you have to achieve. You have to do better than me. You don't have time to be depressed. You don't have that opportunity. That's a luxury. Or you're feeling, that means you're not working hard enough. You need another job, Because when you think about it, they have dreams for us, Once again, that wanting better for us, that's a huge stressor on us, to be honest, though. Especially if our dreams don't align with theirs. That's a main source of anxiety and depression, because you're almost disappointing your parents. But having those conversations can be very, very difficult. So I don't know.
How would a conversation like that go? I guess you're saying you're trying to address mental health with your parent, and this, I guess in this case, it would be a Caribbean parent, your first generation. Like, give me an example, I guess.
Okay. You be the kid, I'll be mom.
Okay.
Okay.
So, mom, I just don't feel like I just don't feel like myself. I don't know. I just don't feel like anything. I just feel really depressed. I don't know what to do.
Make yourself feel something.
Huh?
Make yourself feel something. You're bored. You must not have enough to do.
But I do a lot. Like, I'm going to school. I got a job. Like, I'm doing stuff. But I just don't feel like.
You do a lot. Do you see what I do? I work 2 jobs. I come home. I cook for you. I do your laundry. You don't do anything around the house. You just sit and watch TV all day. I come home. I work all from 5 a.m. to 12. You see when I come home. I don't have time to do that. What else do you want from me? And that's another thing that we do. We minimize someone else's problems. As soon as you compare your problems to someone else, it's a wrap. You just shut down everything. Because once again, we talked about in that person's world, that's the biggest issue that they've ever encountered. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what your issues are. Your issues are your own. You can't compare it because that person, especially if they're younger, they've never had all these responsibilities. Right now, they might be the same level of stress as you are, to be honest.
Right.
But it's just at a different age, at a different point.
So, okay, let's do it like this now. Like, what would be the proper way for me to come to the Caribbean parent? Let's say it like that.
I don't think I think
okay, go ahead.
I think the question would be how could we teach a Caribbean parent to respond better? Because I feel like as soon as you make your concerns about your mental health, I feel like as soon as you bring up your mental health concerns, that's valid, no matter how you do it,
So you're saying that no matter if they listen or not, you need to express it. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we just have to teach our parents. And that's the biggest way. That's the biggest way.
That's tough.
It's tough. And once again, they've been doing things their way for however old they are.
Right.
And it's working enough,
Kinda. Yeah,
In their eyes, you went to school, you graduated. Cool, my job is done pretty much. You have a job, great. I could go to sleep, to be honest. But it's understanding that they've done the best that they could with what they had, with the knowledge that they've had.
Yeah.
So once again, this is where you come in, we're teaching. So that's the tough part. So if it's having different videos, if it's having different speakers, I don't know how. There's a lot more mental health movements now, a lot more. Right. Finding the one that they can understand. And, a lot of them are religious. And that's fun when it comes to mental health. So even just kind of showing them people in their church that's also having a tough time. Making it more personal for them.
Huh.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's not just like one parent. Like I see it kind of with all especially Caribbean parents because they just come from a different culture altogether.
Right.
And they're coming over here and it's sweet over here. You know what I mean? Like you have lights, you have running water, and they've been through all of this other stuff, so they don't understand it at all. And it's
crazy because mental health issues is so apparent when you go back and you think about your family dynamic. Mental health illness is everywhere, in your family's history. But it's always been the crazy aunt or, the weird uncle. Oh, yeah, you can't talk about that with him. It sets him off. There's different, at least I know, I didn't really think much about mental health in my family until I started getting a little more personal. And, I started thinking about my family members.
Right.
I had that weird aunt. I was like, oh, she's weird. No, she had real serious
stuff going on.
Real serious mental health illness.
Right.
And it's genetics as well. When you're predisposed, you gotta carry yourself better.
And that's a weird thing too. Like we don't talk to our parents and we don't know what's going on in our family before we were born. And you know what I mean? Like we don't have those conversations. At least not my family.
I don't either. But it's when I started getting older, certain stuff started clicking. Like little things like we just thought we're like quirks. So.
You're really figuring it out.
Yeah.
Now. But at the same time, we're at like a point of privilege where we're college educated.
Right.
We understand these things.
Right.
And I just look like, man, there's so much plaguing our community. And I just don't even know how to attack it well, not even attack it, but like introduce it to somebody on that level. Like you were saying, like it's just foreign. A lot of people don't even understand it. It's a stigma around it.
Right. But with stigma, that's the best thing you can do is educate.
Yeah.
And whatever piece of information that someone can take from it, even if it's, I don't really believe in it, but if that's how you want me to talk to you, cool. I'll start talking to you in this way versus how critical I used to talk to you. Or I don't really believe in it, but I see the links between mental illness and physical illness. Cool. I'll start thinking better ways. As I think when we're educating people, it's that one thing that they get, that new piece of information. We're not going to change everyone. We're not going to change the whole perspective. But even if we have them interact with your kids better, or interact with you better, that's a new experience. And I think the most important thing for us is to now do better for our next generation.
Right.
Now you have this information. Now you know how you were raised. You will know how you would have wished you were raised, or all these different skills that you want your children to have. Learn them. Educate yourself on them. Be the best version of you that you could be.
Right. It's work being a parent, man.
It is.
That's why I'm staying away from it.
I honestly, this conversation was like, whoosh, I am not ready.
It's a lot. That's a whole person you have to
that you're
pour into.
responsible for.
Yeah.
And all the decisions that they make, leads right back to the parent. They weren't raised right, or look how well you raised your daughter.
One thing, okay, so this is another topic. Basically, women like relationships. And I was talking to my godmom, and she said, if you put your family second, then they always will be second. And we live in a world now where entrepreneurship is like the sexiest thing, and like getting to the bag is the sexiest thing. Like, how do you feel about like that work-life balance? Like, especially you being a college-educated woman, you got your master's, you know what I'm saying? You're doing all these things. Like, how do you plan on handling that?
I don't think I'm the right person for that. I would love to just be a stay-at-home mom, to be honest.
Really?
Yes. But once again, because I have the education, I'm doing the work now so that, whatever. But I do think that comes with finding your right partner and having those conversations about, this is what my work looks like. Because if you're a nurse and he's a doctor, who's raising the kids? Do we want to have kids if we're not home? Those are the conversations. You don't have to have children. If you're not going to take care of them emotionally, that's the most important part. Don't have kids. You don't have to.
Because you have to put in the time.
Right. It's not about the money. It's not about the resources. That's nice. But once again, are they going to grow up to be good citizens of the world? No. They're going to end up.
So are you one of those people who think like you can't have it all?
No, I think you can have it all. I think you can definitely have it all. Once again, it's having that communication and finding the right partner for you. You could be a nurse and a doctor and you guys figure it out, but that's going to take a conversation.
That's going to take more than a conversation.
It's going to take literally I don't know if it's every week you guys are sitting down with your schedule. Okay, I'll pick him up from basketball so that tomorrow you could pick him up, we have dinner. That one day a week we're both home. It can work. I definitely think you can have it all. Why not? But it takes a lot more work than people realize.
It takes a hell of a lot of work. That's what I'm saying. Like with me, I'm questioning. I don't know if you can have it all. Because especially if you're trying to be the best you can be at work, you're trying to get all this money, you're trying to be a millionaire, you're trying to, go get it. It kind of takes away from family. And you talking about 2-3 kids. When are you going to have them? You know what I mean?
Especially kids are more financially draining now. Daycare is expensive.
But that's a while from now. I'm not touching that.
I think once again that becomes your priority.
Right.
Your priorities are going to change. I think once you realize you want a family, there's certain things that are not as important to you anymore. There's certain things that you're going to cut back on.
Right.
It might be, okay, I won't be a billionaire now. Maybe I'll be a millionaire.
Be realistic.
Right.
That's what you have to be realistic. Set realistic
goals. Ideally, it's something compromised. So you're not going to be home as often. You're not going to make as much money. But I don't know. You just have to figure out what the compromise is. I know for me, money is not, I say that, but it's not.
That's what I'm saying. We say these things. It's like,
world, once again,
we want all these things. We want so much. It's like social media portray like, oh, it's his family, lawyer, doctor. They have 3 kids. And you know what I mean? Like
But social media is not showing you what they have for dinner. They probably have ramen for dinner, which isn't wrong.
Or they never see their kids. They never see their husband. They never see their wife. Right. It's tough, man.
Yeah, but I think if, once again, it's about communication and finding the right partner who at least, the vision matches yours, and you'll do whatever it takes to get that vision.
Right.
So if it's like, okay, I want to be good financially as well as be there for my kids, that's a broad enough vision that you could figure out whatever works. You know what I'm saying? If someone's staying home, whatever.
And while we're on this subject of relationships, I saw something on Instagram. We're talking about social media, and it was this one girl. She posted like one of those on her story or whatever. She put, it was men who have like a lot of emotion are the ones who become angry, and those are the ones who love the most. Right?
Whoa.
And I was like, what?
Just run.
This is toxic.
That's abusive. Please leave.
So explain why that's toxic.
It sounds like unresolved issues. Anything that's unresolved is going to be toxic.
So basically somebody, the men who gets angry, who wants to yell, those are the ones who love you the most.
Ew. Oh, no.
Yeah, I was like,
that's
what?
abusive. That's abusive. That's a sign of an abusive relationship. And I think once again in this culture, we've associated that jealousy, that possessiveness, that you can't wear that, you can't go there. That's not.
Oh, he loves me.
Yes.
He loves me
yes.
so much.
The keeping, checking each other's phone, all these different things as love. That's not love, to be honest, because that's not a trust. He does not trust you. Because the whole reason he doesn't want you to wear that is so that other guys don't look at you. That's not trust. A guy who's secure in his relationship will want you to go out there looking the best version of you.
Right.
So they could be like, dang, his girl fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a secure relationship. And I don't know if you know all about the different attachment styles.
I don't.
Okay, so there's four different.
Go ahead.
Once again, there's 4 different attachment styles that go back to your childhood. It literally goes back to when you were a baby and how your primary caregiver, usually your mom, how she interacted with you. So there's a secure attachment, which is basically you're secure, you're ready to conquer the world. When your mom would leave, you were comfortable knowing that she was going to come back. Those people handle relationships a bit different. They're very secure in a relationship. They're confident. Their partners could go out to parties, and they could be sleeping. They know things are okay at home. There's anxious avoidant. I had to kind of, not 100%, but there's anxious avoidant, and those lead to the partners are anxious in their relationship. Where is he? He's going to leave me. Oh, my goodness. He didn't tell me I'm pretty today. And that usually stems from a parent that was not very consistent with their love and care. You know, they would pick you up sometimes and would ignore you at the times. There's 2 more attachment styles. I had to read up on it.
Right.
But all these attachment styles, they basically stem from the moment that how your mom, your primary caregiver, how they bonded with you. And once again, it leads all the way back to your childhood, to your
It sounds like love languages. That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I love love languages.
What's your love language?
My quality time and acts of service.
And I was, again, on Instagram. I get all my news from Instagram.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they were saying that the love language that you have is what you were lacking when you were younger.
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree?
No.
Why not?
Because what if you saw, so for example, what if you saw your dad coming home every week with flowers, with gifts for your mom? And you start expecting that too as well. You know, that could be your love language now. That's what I saw my dad doing. That's what I want in a relationship. Just like it could go in the opposite way. He never brought gifts home, so now I want gifts all the time. I think it's a 50-50.
So, but kind of going back to what you're saying, it still stems from.
I think it stems
your
from
relationship with your parents.
Everything is going to stem from your relationship with your parents in your childhood, but I don't think it's from a lack of. I think it's whatever you experienced. So if you experience quality time even if you experience quality time with your mom, you might like quality time with your partner now. Because your love language is not just for your partner. It's with your children, with your friends. It's just how you interpret and how you give love. So I don't think it's what you were lacking necessarily. I think it's what you were around.
Like a culture type of thing. It's like your culture.
Yeah.
This is how your family shows love.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So another great thing about love language is I always tell people, so we love people how we want them to love us, right? So let's say, this happened to me. Let's say, so I remember I would write like notes, and I would leave the notes in the car. And I remember, I know it was so cute. It was so cute. Yes. My goodness. Like, have a great day, hon. Love you. And then I would come home, whatever, and nothing was said. Did you get my notes? Oh, yeah, I seen it in the trash. Wait a minute.
No way.
Wait a minute. My handwritten notes that
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Yeah, it was nice, but I don't really need that. Whoa. Granted, that's a communication issue as well.
Right.
However, that's not the person's love language. The notes, that's not it. But I would love if you write me notes. I would like frame them. You know what I'm saying? I would like, dang, October 1st, they gave me this note.
Yeah.
October, you know?
Because that's your love language.
Because that's how I would want it to be shown to me. So we have to be very mindful why we're doing things. Are we doing it so that the other person can do it for us? Or are we doing it because that's their love language and we're showing them that we love them? So just be mindful in the future.
And at church, I know we're talking about religion now, but at church, the pastor was telling me that you shouldn't look for love in other people, though. You should like be the love that you want and attract that love.
And I think that's a big thing that when we get in relationship, we know Will and Jada had said that, at a certain point, they were looking at each other to make each other happy. Oh, I wanted her to be my source of happiness.
Right.
If you're not happy, the other person's not going to make you happy.
Right.
You have to be happy with or without that person. You know what I'm saying? And then you could be in a relationship where you guys are both happy and you're happy together. Almost,
right. You guys like amplify each other.
Right. Because it's not, what I've learned is it's not your job to make the other person happy. That is not your job in a relationship.
Wow.
It's not.
That's powerful.
That's not your job. And if that's what you're striving towards, you're being drained.
Yeah.
That's a lot to be their source of happiness. I remember I would do stuff. I would go out of my way. I would do certain things, and the person would still have a bad day. How could you have a bad day? Look, I made you dinner. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy. I'm great. I look so pretty. I smell good. Why are you unhappy? Because they can be unhappy. And my job is to support.
Okay.
My job is to help you that sounds like a therapist, but my job is to support and be there for you. Literally sit with you. Oh, you're having a bad day. That sucks. Dang. Let me just be there for you. Mm-hmm. But if it's, let me fix it. As soon as you're fixing something, you're being drained. That's not your job. Mm-hmm. And you always fail.
Because you can't control how somebody else feels.
Right. And that took me a long time to learn. And it was very painful. And it really changed how I view myself in relationships as well. My role as a girlfriend, as a supporter, or whatever. I'm not there. You're going to have a bad day. That's not my responsibility. I didn't do anything for you to have a bad day. You're going to fix it or I'm going to give you your space, you know?
Right. It's all up to them.
Right.
Because you can't make them happy. You can't control them. So what do you think, like, your job is? I guess you kind of touched on it. But what do you think your job is as that person, significant other?
Mm-hmm. I think the number one thing, like I said, supporter.
Right.
So being a therapist, it's hard for me to not be a therapist in my relationship. You know, sometimes they're having their issues. Let's talk about it. How do you feel about that? Why did you feel that way? And literally one time I was like, don't be my therapist right now. Whoa, you should be so grateful to have me as a therapist. You know what I'm saying? How dare you?
I'm a professional. What do you mean?
People will pay me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting this for free. Like, you ungrateful. Wow.
Oh, man.
But once again, literally just sitting there, dang, that sucks. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah. With me, like, that's kind of, and I'm still dealing with it. I always want to fix stuff. I always want to fix. I'm like, you're sad? Okay, let's go do this. Let's do this.
Right.
You're sad? Okay, let's do this. Oh, you have to do this? Okay, let's figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to realize I have to just listen sometimes.
Right.
Just be supportive. Just kind of, okay, man.
Right.
Ask you how you were doing.
Right.
Ask a little bit more. Ask details. But with you being a therapist, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about love.
Okay.
What is your definition of love?
Love. What is my definition of love?
Because you all in the mind. I know you already.
Yeah, but I've realized that love is so subjective and everyone has their own version. I think for me, love in a relationship is whatever you guys agree on. So whatever it is, if it's an open relationship, if it's polyamorous, whatever. But whatever rules and standards that you guys have set for your relationship, that both parties are agreeing to it. And nothing is being done in secret that the other party doesn't know about. And that goes back down to respect. You know what I'm saying? That's the number one thing. That's respect. Right. But
it's interesting because you said nothing about a feeling. And
it's not a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a choice. You literally are choosing to choose that person every single day. You're choosing, and that's why marriage to me is so much, it's important. You know what I'm saying? Because you're binding to that person forever, for better or for worse, literally for better or for worse, unless there's abuse, you know, or whatever you can't handle, whatever.
Or whatever you can't handle. Wait, okay, go ahead.
Once again, that's so very subjective. Some people cheating is a very hard no for them. That's it. I'm leaving. Some people can work through that. I've done therapy where people have worked through it. I've done therapy where it's like, nah, that's a deal breaker for me. I can't get over it. Both fair, But I don't think love is a feeling. I think we're past that age of thinking it's just a feeling. It's literally your choice. I'm picking you every single day. I'm having a terrible day, but I'm still choosing you as my person. That's what love is to me. That dedication, that commitment.
Wow.
Respect, yeah.
That's heavy.
It's not that fairy tale. Oh my goodness, soulmates. I don't believe in soulmates because I think if you
don't believe in soulmates,
I don't.
Whoa.
Because I think if you're with a person long enough and you respect each other long enough, and you're in a relationship and you continue to choose that person every single day, they'll be your partner, your life partner.
But you don't think that God made somebody specifically for you?
I used to think that, but okay, what if that person dies, right? And then you find someone else. So who's your real soulmate? That was always something I thought of, because I would watch those movies where there's the widow and she goes by the beach house on vacation and she find another man and now they actually fall in love, blah, 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 blah. Who was a real soulmate? To me, I would just think about that. I don't think you just have one person in your life. I think whoever you want to make it work with, that's your person.
I don't know. At least I hope God made somebody specifically for me to. So, because if not, then I'm just choosing anybody, right? And
I think there's more to that because there's a process in choosing someone, right? They have the same likes as you, or like you're compatible enough that you want to be in a relationship. In that sense, I think that God has created that one person for you. I don't know. I just don't think it's like the soulmate that glances across the room or eyes locked and I knew instantly.
Which one do you think is? Because I'm battling it with it as I'm thinking about it. Which one do you think is more special, that you're choosing to be with this person, or that it's just somebody out there who's just made for you?
You're choosing to
choosing, yeah, I think so.
Because that's work.
I think
that's
so too.
hard work.
Yeah,
that's like every single day. I could have someone else, but I'm still choosing you.
Every
As
day.
opposed to that person. Oh yeah, we're together now. It clicked. That's fate. That's too easy. That's too simple.
So okay, with marriage, you touched on something. You said that it's through sickness and health. Unless they are abusing you, which I agree with.
Yeah,
But then you said, like cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's the what is marriage then? Like if you're not with that person forever.
What do you mean?
Like through sickness and health, through good times and the bad times. Like what? So that's not true. You shouldn't be with them through the good times and the bad times.
Like I said, cheating is subjective to what someone can withstand.
Yeah.
Some people, it might be a hard no because you disrespected our marriage bond in the first place. You stepped out. Because you know how I talked again beforehand about the rules and boundaries that were set? You broke those boundaries. You knew what my hard no was, and you broke it. That's disrespectful. I can't be with you anymore. Versus, we've been together long enough. We have kids. Or, I can forgive him. I can move past that, but it's not going to happen again. Or I don't mind.
It is what it is.
Once again, it's very subjective.
Got you.
And nowadays you can't really judge people anymore for what, you don't know what their relationship is.
I can judge them. I don't know about you.
I don't know.
Because I don't know, like especially for me, marriage is a lifelong commitment.
Right.
I mean, and I'm going to let it go. Like if they're abusive,
right?
You know what I mean? Some craziness happening.
So hard.
I mean, you kind of have to do what you have to do. But other than that, I don't know.
So would you stay if your wife cheated on you?
I don't know. I would like to think that we could get through it, but I've never been in that situation.
Right. So. And I think that it takes work. It takes work. I've done, therapy when that's happened. And that's literally like an ongoing process because you have to rebuild the trust.
Yeah.
And you literally have to create a whole new relationship. I think a lot of times people, they go on breaks or they break up and they want to get back together. And a big thing is, I want the relationship to go back to how it used to be. No, you don't, because y'all broke up. There's nothing that could have been good enough for y'all to break up. Right. You literally have to rebuild yourself, rebuild that relationship. And that time you guys were apart, you grew. You're different people now. How can you have a relationship with these new individuals? And you might not be able to. And I think that's how it would be, with the whole cheating thing. Rebuilding the relationship.
Rebuilding. All right, I got 2 more questions and we're going to get out of here. 2 more. The first one, which you kind of mentioned, how do you build boundaries in a relationship? Like, how do you even know what your boundaries are?
I think that's a great question, especially when the honeymoon phase is so great, and you want to be all up under each other. Yeah. And usually when couples break up, it's when that honeymoon phase is fading. You know, he's not calling every night anymore, or I don't get my good morning text messages at the same time. I think, or, you know, he wants to hang out with his boys now all of a sudden because it's getting comfortable. It's growing into a new level. And I think it's during that phase where you really kind of set what things are important to you. Because during the honeymoon phase, y'all want to be all up under each other, right, together 24/7, texting all the time. When it's getting comfortable, when you want to be around other people a little bit more, that's when you set your boundaries. Okay, I need to hang out with my boys. That they're important to me. I need me time. I need a day to myself.
These are types of boundaries to set.
These are types of boundaries I need. A
day to yourself? I don't know about that one.
Once again, that might work for someone. It don't work for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for me.
But a day might be like, we're not seeing each other today, but we're still calling and texting each other, you know? Or I need my me time during the week. That's very important.
Yeah, I have a Sunday. Sundays, I don't do anything. But I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm not going to see you today.
Right. Once again, figure out whatever works for you in your relationship. Once again, everything looks completely different. Some people might still see each other every day, but maybe you're not seeing each other for that long period of time. Maybe we used to spend every waking minute together. Now we're seeing each other for 2-3 hours.
Got you.
Right. So it's about getting comfortable with the new wave of the relationship. And that's when most couples break up, that little period right there where, dang, maybe he don't want me no more. He's with his boys now. This and
it's getting real. You setting your boundaries. You're saying, no, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not putting up with that.
And that's a tough period for me because I'm such a creature of habit. Literally, I could be in a relationship with you for 5 years. I want that good morning text every single day at the same time.
They have apps for that. For all those looking at, it's apps for that.
But that's a hard lesson I had to learn myself. Like, dang, you know, and people be like, oh, you're compromising. I don't think so. I think, once again, things change. You want your love to...
What's wrong with compromising?
I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, that's a relationship.
But I think there's that I'm not going to settle, and people think that compromising is settling.
No.
You might not think that.
I mean, I can see why they would say that.
Yes.
Because, okay, you don't want anything less than this.
Then
if you go down below that, then it's settling.
Mm-hmm.
It's settling for something.
Yes.
I don't know. I wouldn't even... What do you think? What's the difference?
Compromising, like you said, is a relationship. Both parties are making sacrifices.
Okay.
I think that's a big part of compromise, that both parties are sacrificing.
Got you.
As opposed to settling, that's a big thing. It's one party.
It's one-sided.
Compromising their values when the other party isn't. I think
you're good. You need that money. I see why you get paid for this. Yeah, I see it. I get it.
Booking info.
Okay, but we didn't finish the boundaries. So how do you present your boundaries to your significant other?
It depends what kind of relationship you have. Mm-hmm. It depends how you guys communicate. It might be a date, writing it down. Okay. It might be, okay, you know, sometimes I need to go out clubbing with my boys. Sometimes, you know, I need to go on trips. I love trips, you know. That's my self-care, you know. Yeah. I'm going to go on my trip. You be great. You know, it really depends. Once again, relationships are so different. Every relationship is very different. And I think that's the issues with social media and looking at relationship goals, all these different things. It works for them. When you try to come and do that, it might blow up in your face because that's not your relationship. Now, it's great to get ideas and different things, but when you have like a whole aspiration, I think that's where there's disappointment. And then it becomes resentment. Dang, look at them. They're so happy on social media. Why can't we be like that?
That's big. Mm-hmm. That's big. You need quiet time. Yeah. You need quiet time to really organize yourself. Mm-hmm. Final question.
Yes.
Home stretch. Yeah. So if somebody's going through something in their life, a lot of stress, they might be dealing with depression, they might be dealing with some type of mental health disorder, or they just trying to get to the next level in life. What would be your biggest, what would you tell them? What would be your advice to them?
I would tell them to go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
But I understand that therapy is not easily accessible or affordable, unfortunately. So one thing that I've noticed, let me touch on social media a little bit. I know a lot of people say that social media is bad, it's terrible for mental health. I actually recently, over the last couple of months, curated my feed. I started muting some people, unfollowing some people, and following the right pages. There's a lot of great mental health wellness pages on Instagram. And it's great that when you wake up, you're scrolling down and you see positivity. It makes you feel better. They have all these different, they're called Instagram therapists now. And you know, once you start following one, you start following another, you just fall down that loophole.
Right.
And after like a day, your whole page is just positivity. There's nothing right or wrong with Instagram. You just have to use it properly.
It's all there.
Right. So that's something I would tell them to do. So maybe kind of curate your feed. You know, if you can't get the help that you need, follow the right pages. Me and a couple of other girls, Haitian women, have started a page called Culture Therapy, Culture Therapy _. And we share mental health resources for culture, predominantly the Caribbean culture. So you guys follow us.
That's big.
So, yeah,
that's real big. No, really, it is.
Right. So even pages like that, all these different things. The Calm app, I don't know if you've heard about the Calm app. It's a meditation app. It's great. YouTube has all these different, YouTube is great as well. So even if you can't attend a therapy session, they have a bunch of different topics, therapists that can kind of walk you through a typical scenario. There's some therapy that you could do, like worksheets that you can do yourself on Pinterest. There's a bunch of different resources.
Get it out. It sounds like you're just saying get it out. Get it out some type of way.
So the main thing I would tell someone is to journal. Journaling is probably one of the best, cheapest things to do. Because when you're journaling, even the writing process, and actually write it out, not just on your notes. Even writing it out, that's therapeutic. Just like the actual feeling of the ink on paper. Mm-hmm. And then a great thing about journaling is when you go back, you can identify your, maladaptive thoughts.
What?
Maladaptive. They love that word, but basically maladaptive bad thinking.
Oh, okay.
Right. So what are some of your thoughts that, especially with anxiety, it's great. Why did you think that was going to happen? So for example, like my phone will ring, I'll freak out. Oh my goodness, who's calling me? This is an unknown number. Who died? Like literally my mind goes like this in a snap. My car's making a noise. There's a bomb in there. I'm going to die. Why are you thinking? I know.
You don't go to a bomb, dude.
Bro.
Really?
Bro.
Oh, man.
It's crazy because when I was younger, at night, I would hear this ticking noise. Tick, 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 tick. I didn't know what it was. I was like, there's a bomb in this house. We're going to die. Literally. It was a clock. Yeah. But it's just, if I had written that down, and then when I went back to look at it the next day, why would you think that, But in that moment, it sounds so real. It's so believable.
Right.
So then the next time that I was thinking that there's a bomb in the house, I'd be like, oh, no, remember, it's a clock. And then I would write that down. So journaling is so, so great.
That's big.
Journal.
Man.
Journal.
Now, I'm the same way with anxiety, but I have one bad thought, and then it'll lead me to another bad thought, and
you're down that hole.
Going.
And that's a great thing. There's a whole branch called CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Health Therapy, that basically says that if you change your thinking, you can change your behavior. Because your thinking leads to your feelings, which leads to your behaviors. A lot of time we think it's our feelings that leads to our thinking. No. So even if you can change your thought, you could change it to something else more positive to make you feel less anxious. So for my kids, an example I would use is, okay, so they got mad at school because they hit a student. Why did you hit that student? Because I thought they were talking about me. They kept looking my way and laughing. Okay, that's fair. So then I would ask them, what else could have made them look back and laugh at you? What other reason? Oh, there's a new girl next to me. Maybe they think she's cute. That's a whole different wave of thinking, That opens a whole new stream of consciousness almost. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe they weren't laughing at me. So I didn't have to feel embarrassed. I didn't have to punch them. They were laughing at the other girl. But it's just thinking something else.
Right.
So you're not anxious. They could have been laughing at you. They really could have. But you're not thinking about that. You don't care. So changing your thinking is the greatest way. Just having that positive thought or something else. It could be something else. Mm. So that's a challenge I'll have for people, for anyone. When you find yourself being anxious, what else could it be? Like my principal would call me. We have a walkie. Can you come to the office, please? I'll start freaking out. Oh, I'm about to lose my job. What did I do? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm like, what if it's something positive? And I'll walk, and as soon as you start thinking of something positive, you walk differently. You're like, dang, it's positive. You're sitting up straight. Hi, how can I help you? It's something good. As opposed to if you think it's something bad, hey, what's up? Now you're really going to get fired because you're not a good team player, you know?
Right.
And that's that self-fulfilling prophecy. What you think is what's going to happen because that's what you put out. I don't know if it's the vibes, all these different things, but it's real. If you're walking, dang, defeated, oh, she don't like me. Yeah, she don't like you because you're always so negative around her, you know?
No, it really is like that, though. It really is.
Whenever she sees me, she give me a stink look. Yeah, because you're so rude to her. That's what it is. Yeah. And I bet when you come and you say, hi, you control. Once again, controlling that situation. Hey, how are you? Oh, she said hi to me today. Yeah, because you weren't being rude. It's that simple.
Yeah, you said hi back.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
But this was amazing.
Yes,
I want to say that. I learned so much.
Thank you so much for having me. You're doing such a great, this is so important. And I think it answers their question, what can we do? I think you're doing your part, Every little avenue that you have where you can educate, once again, that's the biggest part. And that's what you're doing. Having all these different speakers come and share their truth. It's great.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much
that's
for
what
having
you did.
me.
I feel like people their minds are going to explode. How much
I hope so.
Maladaptive. I forget the
maladaptive.
Yeah, exactly. All of that.
That's a bad behavior. So whenever you see maladaptive, it's a bad behavior.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now we know. Yes. But I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciated the talk.
Yes.
And thanks for speaking up.
Getting it right in the middle of the ghetto on the curb with a spike. All of the book is we on our back staring at the stars above. Talking